I was perplexed. I looked around me at the dilapidated bamboo structure, a low quality wingless sanitary pad in one hand and a bunch of tissue papers in the other. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ananya Chacharya and I have grown up in a family of strong women but extremely powerful men. I was not my daddy's little girl. I was always Papa's strong boy. I didn't see a problem in that. I thought I was different. I was not like other girls. I preferred collared t-shirts to floral tops. I chose sneakers over pretty sandals, scoffed at the gorgeous women who wore makeup, and thought crime was for the weak. I saw the men who led from the front. They were loud, unapologetic, mostly dismissive, and largely stoic. It was easy for my young gullible self to believe that emulating these characteristics would start me off on a decisive path of success. So when I stepped into my first job in governance and politics, I was unprepared. I was served a brutal reminder of who I really was. Growing up in an all-girls school, followed by an all-girls college, I had definitely taken female company for granted. I was hounded by the men whose footsteps I had wanted to follow. I had to prove my worth at every step of the way. Colleagues made sleazy comments, mocked my feminism, and even got away with easy promotions. I was sexually assaulted at an office party, and I had no one to turn to. The few women in leadership positions were worried about their survival, and the dwindling number of female employees made me wonder about my own fate. Yet, I took the plunge. I was ostracized. I didn't get invited to parties anymore. I spent lunch breaks alone, and the whispers followed me down the corridor. My perspective on who I was, where I was, what I was doing, and who I was hoping to be started changing. I grew up in a Hindu family which comes with its own share of pampering. Every year I was dressed up in bright colourful clothes during Durga Puja and all the elders would give me gifts. They even touched my feet and asked for my blessings. I was the Kanya Durga. But this didn't last very long. I was 14 and I realized I would play no such role in the upcoming festivities. I was still a girl, but I was suddenly unfit to be a Durga, a female goddess. Why? Well, I had started my periods the previous month. I was impure. My story is not very different from the 322 million menstruators in our country, and yet so different. I travelled through Bihar for work back in 2019, and on a long trip, my friendly neighbour, my agony aunt, and my most awaited day of the month paid me an untimely visit. For nearly 250 kilometers, I could not access a sanitary pad. When I reached the village, I was taken to the bamboo structure. I was perplexed. What was a minor inconvenience for me is the lived reality for several menstruators every day. The idea of womanhood is still imposed on girls at Menarche. They drop out of school because of vulnerability. They become marriageable, you see. And worse, they're not told why. I had an 11-year-old girl come up to me and meekly tell me that she first thought that she was dying when she saw blood between her legs. And she could not understand. She was appalled at why her family was still mistreating her. They expected her to wear different clothes, use different utensils to cook for herself, and not touch or talk to anybody. At that point, she wished death came upon her faster than this disease. In India, 1 in 20 girls drop out of school at Menarche, and 70% adolescents still remain unaware about what periods are. How could I talk about equality when even today menstrual rights is not considered a fundamental human right? How could I then talk about justice when a woman's right to self-preservation and full potential is curtailed at puberty? I am like other girls, and I am proud of it. Standing in that bamboo structure had caused a revolution within me. I quit my job and started working on preparing young girls, preparing them to love and embrace themselves, to love and embrace their bodies, to love and embrace their periods. I knew menstruation was a taboo topic. My mother had only told me what not to do when I had hit menarche. Several family members still shy away from discussing what I'm working on. They squirm in their seats when they hear my father and I talk loudly about it. And I'm asked to often avoid the topic at social gatherings. But I'm not here to be silenced. Periods is a health hazard wrapped in myths. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to quit my job. It wasn't easy to continue after being sexually assaulted. But it had to be done. And I could do it because of the support and love of the few women who stood by me. Those who reminded me that I'm fighting not for myself. Who reminded me that collective movements could create revolutions. Who reminded me that I was like other girls. Today I stand for all the menstruators, those who came before me, those who are standing with me, and those who will come after me. I will fight. I will fight for our rights. And I will fight till every menstruator can find pride in their periods.